What's up, y'all? This is Under the Arch Sports, the podcast. I'm Eric. Apparently, I look like a soccer player with my hair. Yeah, because that's what David says.
That's right. And I'm David. And I'm back in Columbia finally, so I can give you some insight on what's going on with the football team later on.
Yeah, the first thing we're going to talk about is, well...
Depression?
Pretty much. The Blues are done. They got finished off by Vancouver. 6 games. Jordan Binnington was in net for Game 6, supposedly. I mean, looking at the score sheet, debatable if he was in net, I'd say.
And, I mean, looking between the two goalies, Allen was definitely playing better, but let's face the facts. The team in front of both goalies, weren't playing well.
No.
Their best game was probably the first game they won, which was Game 3. And then they pulled off Game 4. But, the Blues never looked like they got their game back, through this whole series. I think the break in between was really detrimental to them because not only did they get off their game, but because of all the quarantining, they couldn't go out and skate and stay in shape. And with the type of hockey that they play, because they're not a fast team at all, it's a hard-working style where you dump the puck in, forecheck, and just beat the living daylights out of the other team. But because of the quarantine, they couldn't stay in game shape, if you will.
Well, and see, another aspect of that is you compare the Blues roster to Vancouver. Vancouver is, one of those young, up-and-coming teams, right? The Blues, while they have young players, they're not a young team. And age, maybe it was a factor for the Blues in coming back from such a long layoff. I don't know.
The other variable you got to think about is how much this team fed off the crowd to get their energy going. It's not much of an excuse because every team is dealing with that. But with the style of play, they react to the crowd much more because the crowd kind of fuels them, and it's really provides a big difference for the team. But again, that's not much of an excuse because every team is dealing with the same issue.
Yeah, I mean, there's something going on, and this is the crappy part for the Blues is the situation is so messed up. It's tough to know what to make of it. Did every coach kind of made up some sort of comeback from lockdown training camp plan, right?
Right.
But everything could be explained by Craig Berube's comeback from COVID plan sucked. It could be that. The Blues come back in whenever the next season starts and go out and they're back to being Stanley Cup contenders. It's almost impossible to know. The big concern is what this roster is going to look like. You have Petrangelo's a free agent. And
Allen's
with
going to
the
be
cap room
gone.
the Blues have, or better yet, don't have, there's serious doubt that he's back, right? So there's your captain, very, very possibly gone. You also have to look at Tarasenko. What is the story? Is this, with his shoulder, are we looking at a career-altering type of injury for him? And what happened to Binnington?
Well, and I can't speak for Binnington, but I feel like he lost some of his confidence in the qualifying rounds when the team wasn't playing up to par.
Right.
Because he was just taking onslaught after onslaught and left out to dry, and then he ended up giving up some goals. But the problem is when we started playing the games against Vancouver, he let up some real easy goals. They were talking last night. If you look at Markstrom compared to Bennington, Markstrom was playing on the top of the crease, and Bennington was like kind of in between the crease and the net. And with how small Bennington is, you just can't play like that. You have to be out there and attack, and he wasn't attacking.
Yeah, and what they were saying is Bennington was guilty of the worst thing you can see your goalie do, which is after a shot either hits him or whatever, he's looking back into the net.
Yeah.
And when that's going on, he's done. So in that sense, he needs this offseason. Just get the fundamentals and figure out what was going on. The risk, and, I don't know the ins and outs of goaltending. The risk that the Blues run is, what if the book is out on Binnington and now NHL players are figuring out where his weak spots are and how to score on him?
But I'm not sure that's the case, though, because when the regular season was going on, he was still pretty lights out.
Well, what about during the quarantine? And when the NHL was just sitting there, coaches have nothing to do but look at film. What if somebody discovered some weakness in his game?
True.
I'm not saying it happened, but it's possible.
Well, and
with something happened to Binnington, and the Blues have to account for that as a possibility, in my opinion. The fact that he may never be better than about an 83% save percentage.
Well, and they'll have to go regroup after this and see what happened. Binnington will have to take a good look and adjust if he needs to. The other thing is I don't know if they've stated it yet, but now that the Blues season is over, when's the new season start? Are they going to start in November? Are they going to push it back a little bit, or are they just going to go right into the season after the playoffs are over?
Yeah, I feel like they have to take 3 weeks, a month off, because the Stanley Cup Finals are going to run into October. Well, that's when the regular season starts. So,
well, and you don't have every team playing, so you got to give the teams camps to get going again.
Yeah, you can't start a regular season where some teams have had 2-3 months off, and the others have had that 3-4 weeks off. Can't do that.
And I doubt they're going to go into a bubble situation, because the players, I don't know, I doubt they'll agree to that with their families and everything else.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see what comes up there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to look at that. And the Blues roster could look very different. I really think it could. Because the one thing that I didn't mention, I mentioned Tarasenko and Binnington and Pietrangelo, but there's an expansion draft.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Who's going to be protected and who's going to be unprotected?
Don't forget, on top of that, Jake Allen's contract's up too. So we're most likely going to lose him. So the Blues are going to be looking for a good backup goalie. And that's how the Blues got to the last Stanley Cup, is Jake Allen and Bennington were competing and pushing each other. It wasn't just one or the other. They're working hard with each other on that one.
Yeah, and see, I mean, you're going to be looking at a couple of Blues players potentially being part of the Seattle Kraken, who should be the Seattle Karens. I still maintain that's a more terrifying name.
Yeah, true. Well, and if it was like, I don't know how they're going to maintain that expansion draft. I felt like they allowed too many good players to go to Vegas right away for their expansion draft, which is why they competed right into like the what was it, the semifinals last year?
No, they made it to the conference or the Stanley Cup Finals their first year.
Oh, they did make it. I couldn't remember if they made it to the finals.
Yeah, they lost to the Capitals in the finals their first season of being a thing.
Yeah, so are they gonna allow that type of draft again, or are they gonna allow teams to protect more players? I don't know.
Maybe every team gets to protect one more player. I don't know.
Yeah. Other than that, I have no idea. Moving on, though, the Cardinals, hey, they started playing again.
Yeah, Cardinals baseball, that's a thing.
They had a doubleheader against the White Sox when they first came back, and what was impressive about that is they won both games.
Yeah.
After a 17-day break and half the team missing.
Well, that's the part where, people are going to be, as soon as the games get back to being a thing, people are going to, have a heart attack over one loss or whatever. But I think the thing to consider is this team had a 17-day layoff where they couldn't leave a hotel room. Pitchers couldn't even keep their arms warm and loose. And they come out and they go 500 on a road trip of, 8 games in 5 days? And they go 500. You take
Which is
that
ridiculous.
all day.
It's really impressive, especially with the amount of pitchers they had to go through. They threw out in the last week 24 pitchers on the mound.
I think they said that during that stretch, I don't have it in front of me. I think they said 7 different Cardinals made their major league debut.
Yeah.
During that road trip.
So, I mean, hats off to the system for putting a competitive team out there. If you just go on 500 these last 8 or 9 games, it's just impressive in itself. I know last night Bader came back. Friday night, I guess, Bader came back. Then Thursday, the day before, Yadi Molina came back and has been in the lineup. So players are starting to come back, but I don't know how much I want. I don't know how much I want Bader to come back really because of his hitting. But
so as you were just saying that, I got an alert on my phone for the Cardinals lineup card. So Yadi batted 8th last night, which I guess makes sense. Still getting in the swing of things. He's back up to the 6th spot tonight. Tyler O'Neill's still batting cleanup. Dylan Carlson's back in there.
Well, and Carlson needed the day off. He had 2 games in a row where he had offers, so I think it was a good day for him to rest. Plus, you got to remember, they played, 9 games in 6 days or something like that?
Yeah, they started up last week, and there are no off days this month. They have 2 off days the rest of the season.
I was going to say, so honestly, the player rotation, you're going to have to put these guys out and give them breaks just because of how ridiculous the schedule is. They're going to have a lot of these.
It may take another entire turn through the rotation before starters are trusted to go 100 pitches.
Well, and you brought up a good point. Flaherty went, 4.5 innings, and everyone was complaining that they took him out. He had 40 pitches, but you got to remember, again, a 17-day layoff.
I don't think he made it out of the second inning, but he had 40 pitches.
Maybe you're right. It was the second inning. But he had 40 pitches. They're treating it like a spring training game because they were sitting in a hotel for 17 days. He couldn't throw.
Yeah, you have to. You don't have any bullpen sessions or anything. Going out and having Flaherty throw 100 pitches when he hasn't tossed a baseball since opening day is ridiculous.
Insane.
Yeah. That's asking for him to spend the 2021 season out with Tommy John surgery recovery or something stupid like that.
Right.
Ease him into it. Maybe his next go. What's today? Today's Saturday. Maybe whenever his next game is Tuesday, whatever day. He throws 60, 70 pitches. And then his next start, about a week from now, next Sunday or whatever, then he's good to go. 100 pitches or until he sucks.
So, yeah, and now you have KKK, was it Kim? He's, I think he has to start today, Saturday, when they play tonight. I think he's actually starting. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I know they let him go a little longer, and Waino went really long too, but they're both veterans of the game.
Yeah, Wainwright went 5 innings, but he has that history of a rubber arm, and he's not, he's used to
like delays.
He's made it. He's done it for 15 years. Jack Flaherty's still like 23 years old or whatever he is.
Right, and hats off to Waino too, because after he gave up like the 3 or 4 runs, he retired 15 in a row. That was impressive. And like you said, ate up a few innings, which is what we needed because our pitching's not quite there yet.
Well, speaking of Friday's game, 2 hits given up. All right, pitching staff. But one of them pinch hit grand slam.
Can I just say Friday was just a bad day all around?
Yeah.
But
when the Blues and Cardinals lose on the same day, and when one of them getting knocked out of the playoffs, that's a bad day for America.
And I guess the Cardinals are really frustrating, but again, you can't really complain yet because they don't have their time. They haven't played in so long. But
the Cardinals are getting in the swing of things still. But remember, 16 teams make the playoffs in baseball this year, and the Cardinals are they're 500 right now.
Yeah, the frustrating part though is like, especially in Friday night's game, they had chances to score. They're just not getting the timely hit.
Right.
And also some of that comes down to, again, Harrison Bader in the lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, Harrison Bader's time is running out. I think it's becoming plain that if he doesn't figure it out and Carlson at least begins to show signs, that Bader's going to be done with. Because his defense is great, but the offense is just atrocious. I mean, if you throw him a slider down and away, it's over. And he's still reckless on the base paths. I love him being aggressive, but too often he's just reckless.
Or he overslides and gets out.
Yeah, like he has it in his head that he's one of the fastest players in the league, which he is. So but he thinks he can get away with anything because he's that fast, and that's just stupid.
What you want to know what's really funny about that? They showed sprint speeds of our outfielders, and Tyler O'Neill is actually faster.
I'm not surprised to know he's close, but I am surprised to hear him say that he's faster.
No, they showed the sprint speeds. It was by like 0.3 of a second. Tyler O'Neill was faster.
0.3?
Yeah.
For how far?
They didn't say how far. I'm guessing it was a run down to first base. I'm not sure. It was like 26.3 to 26.6. Like it was
so that'd be miles an hour.
No, it may have been, but it's still whatever it is, it's faster, which surprised me.
Yeah,
because I like.
Yeah, I knew O'Neill
were
was
just saying
fast. Because O'Neill,
he's a big dude too.
Well, yeah, he was an absolute beefcake out there in left field, but now he slimmed down. Kind of transformed his body to have more lean muscle so that he doesn't look like a meathead gym rat. He's still jacked, let's make no mistake, but now he looks like a baseball player who lifts instead of
a linebacker,
a weightlifter who plays baseball.
It's impressive what he did with his body, though. I got to give him credit for that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, and also – Cardinals cleanup batter is still recovering from COVID, right?
Yeah.
So you get – what happens to the Cardinals lineup when you have Goldie batting third? If DeYoung can come back, and if he can bat 260, and then you have O'Neill in the 5th spot, it's not Pujols, Edmonds, Roland, but it's still pretty solid.
What it does is it gives Goldie protection.
Exactly. And that's the key, because this year he is the traditional Paul Goldschmidt everyone expected, right?
Yeah, he actually looks really impressive at the plate.
Yeah, I mean, smaller sample size, but the sample size is getting bigger by the day because the Cardinals are playing 6 games a day and all that crap. But he's what the Cardinal fans were hoping for. And, well, pitchers are going to stop pitching to him if guys like O'Neill, eventually DeYoung, are going to strike out every third at-bat and bat 240.
Now, can I mention one other person we haven't talked about who I think we need to take a close look at moving up in the lineup?
Who's
And
that?
that is Dexter Fowler.
Yeah.
I mean, we rag on him all the time, but he's hitting 280 right now and putting together great at bats and getting on base. He's doing what we paid him to do originally. And the idea with him was either to have him as a 1 or 2 hitter. Right now, they've been putting Wong as our leadoff, but I think we better be better off with him up in the top and put Wong like at 9. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm pulling up batting averages for the Cardinals right now. Yeah, the Cardinals they're at 7 and 8, but still second place in the division. So right now they're a playoff team.
Well, they're going to go by percentage because there's some other teams who are having COVID issues right now that have been postponing. So they have to go by percentage, not games played. So
yeah, depending on how many games everybody misses. Right. So I'm looking at the Cardinals roster. Well, top batting average is Brad Miller, who is, the latest. Who the heck is this guy? Player for the Cardinals.
Talk about a random good pickup by Mozeliak.
Yeah, he's 348 right now. Goldie is 333. Dexter Fowler, you got Schrock at an even 300. After that, Fowler 275, like you said. But then after that, Colton Wong's 250. DeYoung in his 5 games or whatever he played in 235. And nobody else is batting better than 235.
Yeah, because Evan's been in a slump. Carlson's only been up here a couple games, so there's not much on him. Carpenter's Carpenter, except when the bases are loaded. Can we just
no kidding. How is this possible? Matt Carpenter, I posted it on Facebook. When his contract's up, I wouldn't even offer him a contract. But at the same time, if he played and only batted when the bases were loaded, he would be the best player in the history of baseball.
Yeah, I don't get it. He's still hitting. He just dropped below 500 last night, but he's still hitting.
Yeah,
right around 500.
When he hit that grand slam, coming into that at bat, the grand slam at Wrigley.
Yeah.
His lifetime batting average with the bases loaded was 491 going into that at bat. He's been in the big leagues almost 10 years and played. He's not had any major injuries that I can recall. He's got a lot of ABs with the bases loaded. And he's got a lifetime batting average of right near 5. What?
All right. Now, my other question with Carpenter, and I don't know if you've thought about this, but when he was at his best, he was hitting number 1 in the leadoff. Would you try throw him up there for a game or two to see if you could get it going up there? Because with Brad Miller coming in, you're now looking at the point with some of our other players coming back. You're looking at the point of just benching him if he can't produce. So why not?
I worry that the front office will step in and say, "No, we're paying him too much money. He's playing," because front offices are stupid and stubborn like that. But yeah, no. The way Brad Miller's going, I'd have him play.
I would almost put Miller as cleanup behind Goldschmidt right now.
Could do that. Because Tyler O'Neill is batting a blistering 182 at the moment.
Yeah, kind of like a 1-2 punch going on there.
Yeah.
And then you can put O'Neill behind him. But, I'm just thinking if you give Carpenter a shot back at the leadoff, because when's the last time they actually had him in the leadoff spot? That's what.
Just you mentioning that, I forgot that was even a thing at any point.
Yeah, and he was actually really good at the leadoff spot. That's what I'm saying. Ever since
back in the day, sure.
Ever since they dropped him to be a number 3 hitter a couple of years ago, that's when he kind of fell off the face of the earth. That's what I'm saying. If they throw him up in the leadoff, I'm wondering if he might actually produce again. Just kind of like with the bases loaded idea, he's hitting 491 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, would
I
it
don't know.
jumpstart him?
There's issue. I guess what everyone said about the Cardinals, except for the front office, is playing out. The pitching, for the most part, is pretty decent. The team has absolutely no offense whatsoever on a consistent basis, aside from Goldschmidt.
Well, and the key word is consistent. There are games where they'll throw out 9 or 10 runs, and then they don't score any for like 3 games.
Right. I mean, the problem, understanding that the Cardinals are, 7 and 8, so 15 games. But when your third best regular starter's batting average is 250, you got problems. You got Goldie at 333, Fowler 275, Long at 250. And that's not going to cut it for this lineup.
Well, and again, it's still hard to say how much of that is because of the 17-day layoff, because before that, they only played 5 games.
Yeah.
So there's still not a big sample size going on. And then they had that giant break. They never really had a chance to get their timing down. Long, I think, will get his average up. I think O'Neill will hit around 250 eventually. Everybody else, I'm not sure on. I think Yachty will get it going eventually, but I'm not really worried about him offensively because you want him behind the plate.
Right.
And then who knows what you have with Carlson.
Yeah, everybody needs to pump the brakes on this. Carlton sucks. He's a bust. You're seeing that online, and that's stupid. Yeah, he's starting off pretty crappy.
Well, and he's in the big league. Give him a shot.
Yeah.
It's his first time up here. It's not like he's been up here forever.
Exactly. I mean, that said, it is starting to creep into the back of my mind. Is this just the latest can't miss hotshot Cardinal prospect that we hear the team tout, who comes up and is just kind of meh? Because there is some recent history of the Cardinals doing that. I think they fell in love with the old Cardinal way thing that all of baseball talked about 5-6 years ago, thinking that every prospect of theirs is the next Pujols, and none of them have been.
Yeah. Now, I will say, watching some of the games, because I've watched some of the games he's played in, when he's making contact with the ball, he's hitting it really hard. Again, I don't have the analytic numbers right in front of me, but he's hitting that right at people. Eventually, those are going to start falling.
He is hitting it hard.
So, I mean, when they look at batters, I guess Carpenter is a good example of that. The odds are when they hit a ball, when the ball's coming off the bat at that speed, eventually those are going to find holes and stuff. The problem with Carpenter that they've been complaining about the last couple of years is that hasn't been the case. When he does hit the ball, it hasn't been analytically good looking, if you will.
Right.
So, and you can see that in his struggles. Players like Wong, who have been hitting the ball recently, and in Wong's case, they just now started falling a little bit, which is why his average is up to 250 now, because he was down lower than that. It's kind of the case of what Carlson's doing. He was hitting the ball hard at everyone. They were just right at people. But eventually those have to start falling. So I got to think the same thing will happen with Carlson. He seems to be more of an average line drive hitter than a home run hitter, though, from what I've seen so far.
And I'm fine with that.
Well, we need people like that.
Well, that's all the time we have. Talking Cardinals and Blues. Friday was depressing, but things will get better because they can't get worse. Make sure that you subscribe to Under the Arc Sports on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on the coolest stuff on the internet. I promise. See you next time, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Have a good one, everybody.